I stood at the gate, the fine notice taped to my mailbox still crinkling in the wind. Charter, revoked, stamped bold at the top. The HOA said my grandpa's driveway paint violated community decor, so we filed it into record instead. They mocked his stripes of color but didn't know those lines matched the county plat, the proof they never read until the lawyer read it aloud. Paper outlives noise, I said, sealing the box shut. Finally, someone fought back. I never thought white paint could start a war. That morning, the sun hit the edge of my driveway like a ruler on steel, and the new stripe half an inch wide gleamed too perfect for its own safety. A sedan eased to the curb. Out stepped Karen Goodson, HOA, president, clipboard in hand, sunglasses catching every reflection but her own. She cleared her throat. "Mr. Freeman, your driveway paint violates QR 12-07. Come again, community decor," she said, tapping the page. Unapproved aesthetic modification. $100. Pam leaned from the porch. For paint, Karen nodded. All visible surfaces must align with the neighborhood harmony. I raised my phone. Red REC light on. Read it for the record. She adjusted her collar. Notice of fine $100. Reason unauthorized paint on frontage visible from street. That's a mouthful for a half-inch line, I said. Whose harmony are we protecting? Everyone's. Then everyone can listen, I said, lifting the phone closer. Pam crossed her arms. We painted it to mark our boundary. Trash trucks keep clipping the corner. Intent doesn't change violation, Karen said. Pay within 72 hours. Or, I asked. She smiled, thin as paper. Or penalties compound. That line hit like a hammer drop. Silence. Mini Cliff 1. I crouched beside the stripe, touched the drying edge. The survey pin winked beneath gravel, our little truth in metal. I brushed it clean, like uncovering a memory. Karen shifted weight. Photography isn't necessary. It's documentation, I said. My favorite hobby. She scribbled on the clipboard, the pen squealing. Refusal to comply will be recorded. So will yours. Pam whispered Ron Easy. But my calm was a practiced craft. Karen, show me where it says the HOA owns private driveways. HR 112-07. Appearance, she said. Control of visible frontage. Control isn't ownership, I said. Status doesn't sign titles. Her lips pressed. Words like that make people difficult. I'm fine being difficult if it keeps my property mine. She tore the sheet free, stamped the bottom corner with a cheap blue seal, and extended it like a citation. Filed at office this morning. I took it by the edge. Let's stamp it properly. Inside the garage, fluorescent light buzzed overhead, cold, surgical. I flattened the paper on the workbench beside the rubber stamp I'd used for invoices. Inked, aligned, pressed. Thunk. Purple ink bled into fiber filed. Silent beat. Paper trembling. Karen blinked once. Pam murmured, "That sound's going to haunt her." Karen exhaled through her nose. "That won't make it legal. It'll make it traceable," I said. She pointed her pen toward the stripe. "Erase it or fines double." "Erase proof," I asked. "No. Hank, my neighbor, appeared at the fence with coffee. Morning courtroom." "Just democracy in its natural habitat," I said. He chuckled. "Hope there's an appeal process." "There will be," I said. Karen tucked her clipboard like a shield. "I'll expect payment. You'll get paperwork." She frowned. "What kind?" "The kind that bites back slower." Pam winced, half smiling. Karen turned and walked off heels, tapping measured authority until distance ate the sound. I looked at the stripe again. Perfect, stubborn, small. A line that meant mine. Pam touched my shoulder. "You're actually going to fight this. I don't like unfair math," I said. $100 for 1-inch logic. She laughed despite herself. "Coffee first diner," I said. Public record of caffeine. Steam fogged the diner window as we slid into the corner booth. The waitress poured without asking. I spread the fine on Formica, smoothed the creases, and set my mug right beside the signature. The ring of coffee bled into the margin brown halo on official nonsense. Pam took a picture. Evidence of defiance. Evidence of life. I said, "Every ring leaves a record." "Status doesn't sign titles," she murmured, testing the phrase. It stuck. Across the room, an old radio hummed static. Two retirees at the counter debated torque ratios like philosophers. My crowd, my era. I folded the paper, once slipped it into a plastic sleeve, labeled it with a sticky note. 1207. Paint dispute. Next stop, the post office. The lobby smelled like dust and tape. Bulletin boards lined the wall, cluttered with yard sales and church BBQ flyers. I pinned a photocopy of the notice in the top corner. Below it, I wrote, "Disputed private driveway. Fare 1207 requested." The clerk behind the glass raised an eyebrow. Something wrong with the HOA. "Everything's fine," I said. "They fined me anyway." He slid 2 certified mail forms. Addresses: 1 to the HOA office, 1 to county records. He weighed the envelope, stamped red ink across the corner, "Certified." Another, thunk, "Official final." "My favorite sound this week." "Anything hazardous inside?" he asked. "Just truth," I said. He cracked half a grin. "We still ship that." Back home, I laid the copies on my tool bench, fine notice, certified slip diner receipt. Evidence lined like wrenches on a pegboard. Pam watched from the doorway. "You really think paper can win?" she asked. "Paper outlives noise," I said. "It always has." She smiled faintly. "You're quoting yourself now. Someone has to remember." I raised the notice toward my phone camera. The lens filled with text. Notice of fine. $100. My reflection hovered behind the letters. "This is how it begins," I said. "They draw the lines. We show the proof." I pressed the paper flat against the lens, covering the view. The image went white. Sound caught the soft knock of the stamp, settling back on metal, one last echo under that flickering fluorescent light. Then only my voice. "Pay it or face penalties," she said. I whispered, "Let's face them." Recording ended. "Show me where driveway paint is a crime." I set it into the phone again, slower, so the transcription app wouldn't miss a syllable. My cursor blinked inside a new email subject line already typed, "Request for bylaw language, 1207. The kitchen smelled like yesterday's coffee. The table lamp threw a hard circle on wood, turning my paperwork into a stage. Pam slid a plate toward me. "Toast, butter, ammo, exhibit fuel," I said. She nodded at the stack. "What's first certified letter?" I said. Then insurer. I pulled the HOA notice from its sleeve and copied the header, word for word, into the body of my letter. Willow Crest, HOA, notice of fine, $100, year 12-07. Below it, I wrote, "Please provide the exact language authorizing fines for private driveway paint and any clause implying HOA ownership or control of non-common property." Pam read over my shoulder. "Say, attach filings. Make them cough paper." I added, "Also provide board minutes, vote tallies, and filings that adopted 412-07. My phone buzzed with a calendar ping. Post office, 10:15. The reminder was my favorite kind of pressure. "Insurance next," Pam said. Right after a question. I hit call on the HOA office. The line rang into a recording that sounded like it had been trapped in a closet since 2003. "You've reached Willow Crest." I hung up. "They'll pretend voicemail is policy." Pam tapped her mug. Then we turned policy into paper. I opened a fresh message to the HOA's published address and copied the same text, adding one more line. "Until you provide language, I dispute the fine." Approval ownership. I attached the scanned notice, the diner receipt, and Hank's witness slip. The cursor hovered over send. I didn't click. Not yet. Silent beat. I breathed once slow, felt the chairwood under my palm, and clicked. Whoosh. "Okay," Pam said. "Now the insurer." I pulled the policy from the binder, the one they give you at closing, that nobody reads until it's too late, and flipped to the declarations. The HOA's carrier and agent sat in 10-point font like they were hiding from daylight. I typed a new email. Good morning. I'm a homeowner at Willow Crest. Our HOA cited me under Piranha 1207 for a half-inch boundary stripe on my private driveway. Please advise whether liability coverage exists for punitive action related to non-HOA property, and whether the HOA is insured for seizure or control of private property appearances. Pam leaned into the lamp's circle. Add the simple rule. I typed it as a single line, bold. If it isn't insured, it isn't allowed. She smiled. Viral and true. I attached 2 photos, the stripe and the stamped filed notice. In the subject, I added coverage inquiry, appearance standards, private property. The cursor hovered again. I clicked send. Whoosh! We drove to the post office with the windows cracked. Air smelled like wet mulch and cut grass. The lobby door gave its usual sticky pull, and the scale thunked a little too loud when I set down the envelope. Certified, the clerk asked. Double, I said. HOA board and property manager. He slid 2 green slips. Pam filled the lines with the neat print she uses when she wants to be taken seriously. The clerk stamped the dates in quick rhythm. Thunk, thunk, and tore the receipts from the pad with a practiced wrist. He peered over the glasses. HOA trouble, HOA paperwork, I said. We're allergic to trouble. He pressed the envelope into the out bin. Pickups at 4. The machine scans outgoing. The scale exhaled numbers flashing 0 again. That tiny reset felt like absolution. On the way out, Pam stopped at the bulletin board and adjusted our pinned copy by a 1/4 inch. The push pin squeaked. Straight lines make you feel safer, I said. Straight lines make me honest, she said. Back home, the kitchen lamp was still a hard sun. I refreshed my inbox out of habit. Nothing. I opened the HOA portal hoping for posted bylaws and found a maze of cheerful icons leading nowhere. Community beautification, neighborly reminders. How to volunteer. No bylaws, link just a PDF called Guidelines last updated 4 years ago by web admin. I clicked. The PDF opened to a watercolor of a gazebo. The table of contents ended right where I needed words to begin. Pam leaned on the doorway. Any luck, guidelines, I said. Not law. Save the PDF anyway, she said. We'll underline the missing pieces. I saved it into a folder named Willow Evidence next to scans of my deed and title policy. I opened the deed again, traced the meets and bounds with my finger. Coordinates don't care who's loud. Coordinates don't vote. The phone buzzed. Pam's eyes widened. Already, the HOA email chime was a bright, too happy tone. I clicked. Auto reply. Thank you for contacting Willow Crest HOA. Your message has been received. 0317. A board volunteer will respond within 7 business days. Minnie Cliff. The timestamp glowed like a dare. 7 business days, Pam said. So, 2 weeks. Or 72 hours in HOA math, I said. Do we wait? We stack. I drafted a new message to the county records clerk requesting current filing of Willowcrest HOA charter amendment, adopting FAR 1207 appearance standards and minutes for the vote, creating fines. I attached my deed and wrote parcel number. You really think they'll send it? Pam asked. They always send something, I said. The something is the map. And the insurer, refresh, I said. The inbox blinked. A new subject from a generic domain. Your coverage inquiry. I opened it. Inside, a 1-paragraph reply that sounded cautious enough to be honest. Thank you for your inquiry. Our community liability forms typically exclude actions arising from control or seizure of non-association property. Coverage applies to incidents on common areas or sanctioned events. Please consult your HOA's policy for specifics. Pam read it twice. So, they're naked. They're holding a paper umbrella in a hailstorm, I said. Can we quote this? She asked. We can cite the header. I said, taking a screenshot of the email's top sender date subject case ID string. Headers outlive edits. She pointed to the binder. Add your deed. I placed the deed under the lamp and shot a clean photo of the seal the book and page the county clerk's faint emboss. I zoomed on the legal description until the words became a small forest of numbers. Then I laid my palm beside it for scale. My hand shook just enough to remind me I was angry and alive. Ron Pam said softer, "Take a breath." I did. The lamp hummed. I opened a reply to the HOA auto message and pasted the insurer's paragraph beneath my dispute, bolding only one new line. If it isn't insured, it isn't allowed. I added, "Please produce the adopted text of R112-07 and the vote." I CC'd the county clerk, our property manager, and the board's general inbox again. The cursor lingered over send, a bright block waiting to become motion. Hover, beat, decision. "Ready?" Pam asked. "Ready." I clicked. Whoosh! Hard cut. Old ink beats new bluster. That's how the archivist introduced himself. Eldon Pike County Records badge faded to bronze. He slid open a flat drawer that sighed like a bellows and lifted apart the original map of Willow Crest lines drawn before anyone cared about paint. "You, Freeman?" "Yeah. You're the one chasing Par 12 and 07. I'm the one paying for it." He chuckled. "Ink before outrage, son. Let's see what they actually filed." He spread the parchment on the light table. Faint lettering shimmered under the bulb. Pam hovered beside me, phone, half-raised reverent as church. "This Pike said tracing a square is your lot. And this," he layered a glossy overlay from the assessor's site, "is what the HOA likes to quote. See the drift. Barely a millimeter, but enough to make my driveway look like common ground." Pam frowned. "They're fining us for a printing error for believing color over contour," Pike said. "Their overlay isn't law. The county plat is." He pulled another folder, edges yellowed. Charter 98, Amendments 09 and 14. He flipped pages till the staples squeaked. No record of any Par 12-07 appearance standard being adopted. Newsletter mention yes, filed bylaw no. He dropped a clerk receipt on the table. Received 11/22. Fresh ink. Proof, he said. If it's not in here, it's a suggestion, not authority. I felt my jaw loosen. So the fine's built on vapor. On enthusiasm, he said. Common ailment. Pam grinned. Can we use that quote? Use this one instead? He picked up a pencil and wrote across the plat margin in sharp block letters, Aesthetics, Ownership. Mini Cliff. The graphite squeak cut the air clean. A dust mote drifted through the projector beam, freezing mid-air silent beat before the light swallowed it. Pike leaned close. Bring this image to your hearing. Project it big. People lie smaller in bright rooms. He slipped the transparency into a plastic sleeve, then added my deed copy. Your seal's half the story. The plat is the rest. Together, they close the loop. Pam asked, You'll testify. I'll attend, he said. Archivists don't argue, we read. He stacked the papers, squared the corners with one tap, and slid them into an envelope marked by hand, Willow Crest. Plat, filings, missing, 12-07. He stapled the clerk receipt on top. This stamp, he said, tapping it, beats any HOA header. Back at the diner, same booth, same flickering neon clock. Coffee rings haloed every fight worth having. I spread the photocopy on the formica between us. Pam drew circles with her spoon. What's the order for the hearing deed seal first? I said. Then plat overlay. Then quote. She nodded, eyes bright. Ink before outrage. That's the rhythm, I said. We start quiet, end factual. She smiled. And make them squirm in the light. Outside, the sun flashed off windshields in the lot, tiny reflections, each one like a seal. When we returned, Pike was waiting by the counter with an envelope thicker than before. Added minutes pages, he said. Board missed quorum twice before inventing Hierler 12-07. They can't find what they never voted. He handed me the packet. The staples lined up perfectly. You could tell his craft by symmetry. Anything else I should know, I asked. Projector bulb, he said. Bring your own. Theirs always burns out before truth does. Pam laughed. You've seen this show. Every county has reruns, he said, but paper still wins. He motioned toward the plat rolled under my arm. That circle you saw, keep it visible. I unrolled the edge. The pencil mark looked deliberate, almost defiant. Aesthetics, ownership, I read aloud. Pike nodded. Exactly. Say it once into the microphone, then stop. Let silence do math. He slid one more sheet across the desk, a single-line script typed in Courier. For the record, these are the filings. Anything not filed is suggestion. I folded it, tucked it with the deed. You wrote this, borrowed it from an old clerk, he said. Pre-HOA era. Back when fences ended arguments. Pam touched the envelope. What happens next? Pike looked up at the dimming projector beam. Dust floated slow as forgiveness. Next, he said we read this into the record. Cliff. The sentence landed like a seal closing wax. The camera blinked at EO 315, and truth walked in. Rain had been tapping the gutters since midnight, steady and private. My garage smelled like cold metal and detergent. The red LED on the security DVR pulsed once, twice, then froze. Pam was half asleep in the doorway, robe pulled tight. You sure it's recording? She asked. I wired it myself, I said. It always remembers. On screen, the driveway glowed under the motion light. Two figures crossed the frame, one with an umbrella, one carrying a clipboard. HOA board jackets even at night. The lens caught the reflection of their badges. One bent near the curb, the other unrolled a tape measure that fluttered like a tail. Look at that, Pam whispered. They're tampering. At 03:15:04, the feed hiccuped, a tiny skip. Then a 1-second audio gap before a still frame. Silent beat. When the picture returned, the clipboard man held a small can of gray spray marking my stripe. Their voices muffled by rain, but the umbrella man's mouth formed a clear word violation. Pam stepped closer. We caught them. We caught policy enforcement after hours, I said. That's a sentence that wins hearings. She handed me the letter we'd opened earlier, the insurer's reply from yesterday. Our coverage does not extend to actions outside official meeting hours or unsanctioned entries onto homeowner property. I underlined unsanctioned entries and laid it beside the laptop. That's Exhibit C. She leaned over the keyboard. Zoom in. I scrubbed frame by frame until the umbrella man's face filled the screen. The porch light gave him a halo he didn't deserve. Freeze frame. The HOA treasurer's face. Overlay at the top read, denied a reminder from the DVR when motion filters misfire. The irony glowed in white letters. Minnie Cliff. Pam laughed once sharp. Cameras remember what nerves forget. Exactly, I said. Let's print that line. We watched the clock tick past 4. The storm eased, leaving the neighborhood slick and fluorescent. The garage bulb hummed like a courtroom microphone. I exported the file, named it 03/15 cam footage.mp4, and dropped it next to the insurer's letter in the evidence folder. By morning, we were at the diner again, the only place open before dawn. Same waitress, same burnt coffee smell. I opened my laptop and replayed the footage for Hank, our neighbor who'd once been HOA vice president. He whistled low. They'll bury you in procedure. I'll bury them in timestamps. He laughed. Fair trade. Pam poured creamer with a hand that didn't shake anymore. You think this changes things? Not yet, I said. But it tilts gravity. The waitress set down our check. Her thumb left a faint circle in coffee on the receipt, a ring like a seal. Whatever you're fighting, she said, just make sure you keep your own copy. Always, I said. By afternoon, the insurance adjuster called. We received your claim attachments, he said. The footage time code is... Interesting, 03:15, I said. That matter only if it was their authorized action. It wasn't. He hesitated. Then you may have something bigger than a fine. Pam mouthed, recorded. I nodded. The adjuster continued, voice flattening into protocol. Please retain all evidence. We'll forward this to the HOA's carrier. Expect questions. Good, I said. We have answers. That evening I sat in the garage again. Same angle, same chair. The playback monitor flickered between still frames. The rain had stopped, but drops kept sliding off the gutter like seconds that didn't want to end. At the bottom of the frame, my boundary pin gleamed half-buried rain-polished. Once it marked peace, now it marked the rift. Pam came out holding 2 mugs. "You going to sleep tonight?" "Maybe after I name every file." "Ron," she said softly, "you've built a case out of rain." "Rain leaves evidence," I said. She leaned against the workbench. "Then what happens? Tomorrow they get served." She smiled, half sad, half proud. "And what happens if they ignore it? Then we make it public." The DVR light blinked twice steady now. I closed the folder on my desktop labeled Evidence La 03-15, backed it to a flash drive, then to cloud. 2 copies weren't enough anymore. Pam brushed the paper stack. Insurer letter on top. "Always the paperwork first," I said. We stood there in the hum of the light, the air thick with the scent of rain and toner. Next morning, we drove to the county office again. Eldon Pike met us at the counter, still smelling faintly of dust and coffee. He nodded at the flash drive. "Got it on video?" "Yes, sir." 2 angles. "Good. County doesn't like opinions. It likes pixels." He signed the intake form. "We'll mark this as supplemental evidence to your charter request." "On the record. On the record," he said. Pam smiled at the phrase. The words had weight now. We left the building as the clock over the clerk's desk hit 03:15, on its digital reflection the same hour frozen in our footage. Coincidence or rhythm? Either way, it felt earned. Cut to black. You wanted it on record. Fine, record this. The words left my mouth before the gavel struck wood. The microphone hummed like an insect in a jar. It was 7:03 p.m. Community Hall packed folding chairs squeaking as men in denim and retirees in caps leaned forward. The air smelled of paper coffee and faint BBQ smoke drifting from the parking lot where someone grilled to pass the time. Pam sat 2 rows behind me. Eldon Pike, archivist turned quiet guardian, was near the back holding the projector remote like a compass. My lawyer, Reed Carver, straightened his tie and whispered, "Steady. No theatrics. The documents will do the yelling." The HOA chairwoman cleared her throat. "This hearing is to address property owner violations of Appearance Standards Section RR 1207. I interrupted. Filed nowhere, adopted never. The room shifted. Someone coughed. The mic buzzed, then steadied again. Silent beat. Reed nodded to the clerk. "For the record, we submit Exhibits A through D." He clicked the remote. The projector lit up the wall. The plat overlay, my deed seal the camera, still 0315, and finally the insurer letter marked unsanctioned entries. The treasurer in the front row blinked under the glare. Reed's voice stayed level. "Members of the board, your enforcement action is based on HR 1207, a bylaw not recorded in any county archive. The charter requires majority adoption, verified minutes, and signature under seal." He turned toward Pike. "Can you confirm absence of such filing?" Pike stood. "Confirmed," he said simply. "County records show no adoption. Newsletter insert only." Murmurs rolled through the chairs. The HOA lawyer looked up from her binder, lips thinning. "Procedure allows community standards." "Suggestions," Reed said. "Not laws." Pam caught my eye, mouthed, "Go on." I leaned to the mic. "You fined me for paint that saves concrete. You trespassed at 0315 to prove I was wrong. You broke your own rulebook to defend an idea of control." The chairwoman tapped the gavel. "Mr. Freeman maintained decorum." "I am." "You asked for truth. It showed up." Reed lifted the charter revocation petition stamped, "Filed." "This document requests a full board review and audit. Signatures from 17 homeowners. The motion complies with Article X." Someone clapped. Then another. The treasurer rose, face pale. "This is absurd." Reed turned calm. "Then refute the filings. Paper outlives noise." "Minnie Cliff." The words hung in the fluorescent hum. Applause started slow, uneven, then gathered like weather. Pam stood. "We just wanted fairness," she said quietly. Now it's on record. Eldon Pike clicked the projector again. The screen froze on the image of the plat, his pencil circle around my lot, the words Aesthetics Ownership still visible. The clerk read from the petition. Motion to revoke HOA charter pending audit of missing bylaws. Reed looked back at me. Want to close it? I adjusted the mic, heartbeat steady. I do. I've lived here 12 years, I said. Paid dues, fixed fences mowed within lines someone else drew. But tonight, I learned something paper outlives noise. We all did. Applause again, louder this time. The gavel struck once, but the room didn't quiet. Even the board members hesitated. The chairwoman finally exhaled and nodded to the clerk. "Stamp it," she said. The clerk lifted the rubber seal and brought it down. Thunk. Crowd frozen. Even the lights seemed to pause, dust hanging in the beam like suspended ash. Then someone muttered, "Finally, someone fought back." I smiled. "Make sure that's in the minutes. Fade to black." The clerk said it without drama. The seal press thudded once a sound with edges. Paper met metal. Metal won. She slid the order through the clerk window glass, humming as it touched the tray. Revocation order received, year 317. The heading carried the county crest and a line I could have framed, charter suspended pending audit. Pam stood close enough to fog the glass. "That's it? That's it," I said. "Law doesn't yell, it signs." The clerk's mouth twitched. "Keep the original in a sleeve. Copies get fingerprints." Behind us, the community hall's door creaked. Outside, wind tugged the flag on the hall's pole. One flap, another, and then stillness silent beat, as if the fabric listened for the next sound. Footsteps. The HOA treasurer approached, clipboard gone, pockets full of keys he didn't want to hold. He nodded at the clerk, then at me. They asked me to return these. He placed the gate keys on the counter. Brass cold, nicked from a decade of borrowed authority. The evidence tech held a clear bag open with 2 fingers. The keys slid in. Minnie Cliff, a dry shuck as plastic sealed around metal. Pam exhaled. Pike, somehow already there, touched the brim of his cap. His shirt smelled faintly of dust and lemon oil. "You did the slow work," he said. "We followed the ink," I answered. He nodded at the header. So 317 again. County clocks have a sense of rhythm. The clerk stamped the duplicate copy for my file. Thunk. The desk trembled a hair. She dated the margin and initialed the corner like a door hinge pattern. "Next steps," I asked. "Board complies," she said. "Audit begins. Notices go out by noon. You'll get one. Everyone will." The treasurer cleared his throat. "For the record, use complete sentences," the clerk said. He swallowed. "For the record, the board acknowledges receipt of the revocation order and will comply." Pike looked at him without heat. "Good sentence." Pam touched the sleeve. "It feels light." "It is," I said. "It's not weight, it's direction." We stepped aside so the clerk could post a copy on the bulletin strip behind glass. The tape snapped twice. The sheet lay square, none of the corners daring to drift. Outside, the asphalt still glossed from last night's rain. The flagpole rope tapped metal, a small metronome that made everything simple. Pam squeezed my hand. "Call Hank." "Text is faster," I said already. Typing filed. Keys surrendered. Audit in motion. Hank's reply arrived before my phone finished buzzing. About time. The hall filled slowly, residents drifting in on rumor and calendar ink. Folding chairs scraped. Someone carried a foil pan. BBQ lingered on a jacket. I stood near the aisle, not center stage, just reachable. The chairwoman, now 2 shades paler, approached the mic. Its hum hovered in the rafters just above apology. "This will be brief," she said. "The county has issued a revocation order pending audit. Effective immediately, all enforcement actions under Charter 1207 are suspended." A murmur, then quiet. The mic breathed. Reed Carver, my attorney, stepped forward only long enough to place a single page on the clerk's ledge. "Addendum of exhibits," he said. "Plat, deed seal, camera still, insurer letter, nothing more." "Nothing more," echoed the clerk, writing the list into the margin. A man in the third row raised a hand. So, the fines go away. For now, they stop, the clerk said. What's already paid will be reviewed. Pam leaned toward me. That's the word people want. Refund, I said. It's the echo of a stamp. The treasurer returned with a plastic tub marked files. He set it on the counter like a penance. All 812-07 correspondence, he said. Printed emails, draft templates, the newsletter insert. Received, the clerk said, applying a small sticker and writing B142 in careful block letters. Pike checked his watch. You'll want a copy of the intake log. Of course, I said. The clerk slid another page through the window. Intake exhibits B142. She underlined the time. 10:06. Your order, she added. Tapping the sleeve in my hand belongs to you, but the words belong to everyone. I nodded. They always did. We walked the perimeter once like inspecting welds. The flag gave a quick snap, then settled. The boundary pin by the walkway shone less a wound, now more a landmark. A young reporter eased near. Mr. Freeman, can you sum today in a sentence? I looked at the seal's debossed circle light pooling in the impression. Justice is quieter than you think. It signs, then it stands. She scribbled. And the board. Pam answered for us both. They're neighbors again. The chairwoman approached, shoulders squared to a smaller frame. Mr. Freeman, she said we'll need a statement for the first audit meeting. I'll bring filings, I said. I'll read, not argue. Pike smiled. He learns. The clerk reached for the master stamp, again checked the ink, and pressed it into a blank copy as a test. The red bled crisp. She held the stamp up so the room could see the seal face. For a breath, the imprint glowed under the light. Not magic, just physics, just angles, cliffhanger, and then the card slid back into the drawer. Pam slipped her arm into mine. Home. In a minute, I said. I want to hear the rope. Tap the pole one more time. We stood under the eave. Wind threaded the halyard through metal. Tap, tap, tap. The steadiness felt like a verdict no one could spin. Behind us, the clerk locked the window. Keys rattled once, then the door clicked. People spoke softer than they had on any other day in that hall. Not cowed, aligned. Pike passed me a small envelope. Spare projector bulb, he said. Habits die hard. I tucked it into my bag with the order. Paper first, then light, and then coffee, Pam said. Outside, the sky was the color of primer, not fancy, ready. Do you ever hear a building exhale after truth is read? Pam said it first, standing under the hall's eave as the clerk carried out the final audit box. The word audit used to sound like suspicion. Now it sounded like release. Inside, the air was different, lighter, like windows had been opened. The fluorescent buzz had quieted, or maybe I'd just stopped noticing. On the wall where the charter order once hung a new paper waited audit summary, verified and filed. Eldon Pike leaned over the counter glasses, slipping down his nose. All tallied, he said. Every signature accounted for every bylaw cross-checked. Not one missing minute left unfiled. He placed the folder beside my coffee. The cover still smelled of toner. You keep this one. County keeps the carbon. I nodded. Same ink, different weight. Pam smiled from her seat at the diner counter, the same booth where we'd started months ago. The waitress had wiped the bulletin board clean, no more HOA postings, just a kid's drawing of a dog and a flyer for the spring fair. Outside, sunlight hit the seal on my deed copy, now framed but not worshipped. Pike stirred his coffee with a slow clink. You ever think it'd get this far? I thought it'd end worse, I said. But paper's patient. It waits until you're ready to listen. He nodded. Paper never dies. People just stop reading. Mini cliff. Viral. Quote. The silence afterward wasn't awkward. It was earned. The radio static faded, a few hisses giving way to a local weather report, silent beat. Pam looked at me. So what now rebuild? I said, replace noise with records. Help people remember who signs their dues. She laughed. You'll run for board, I'll run for balance. The waitress slid over a receipt already stamped, paid. I caught the ink, still fresh, still decisive. By afternoon, we walked back toward the hall. The lawn had lines where old signs once stood. The flagpole rope ticked softer now, like it forgave the wind. The clerk met us halfway carrying a polished board wrapped in paper. "You'll want to see this," she said. Under the wrapping sat a bronze plate. Community Charter Audit, completed and certified. Beneath it, a blank line, for engraving. Waiting for a name, the clerk said. Pike looked at me. "Yours fits fine." I shook my head. "Names fade. Keep it clean." Pam smiled. "Leave it for whoever fights next." We stood quiet while she mounted it beside the main door above the slot where the fines once went in. The last box of records slid onto a shelf labeled Public Access. Anyone could walk in, read, and leave informed, no permission, no password. Eldon brushed dust from his hands. "You know, when I started at the archive they said this town didn't care about records. Guess they were half right." "What changed?" Pam asked. "People saw what silence cost," he said. The clerk signed one more line in her logbook pen, scratching final confirmation. There she said, "No more ghosts in the files." Evening light washed the street gold. The diner sign flickered once, steady again. Across the way, the hall windows reflected the same flag, still waving but slower like breath after running too long. Pam leaned on the truck hood. "You gonna keep the old footage? I'll back it up. One copy for history, one for peace." She laughed. "Sounds like two sides of the same thing." Pike checked the sky. "Storm coming." "No," I said. "Just clouds moving without agenda." He grinned. "Feels nice, doesn't it? Quiet without pretending." I folded the audit summary, slid it into a plain folder marked Echo Copy. "It feels fair," I said. We watched the clerk lock the doors for the night. The key turned once, not final, just secure. The bronze plaque caught the setting light, the blank space glowing pale as if waiting for the right hand to carve the next name. Cliffhanger plaque face, waiting for engraving. He didn't want revenge, just records that outlive noise. The morning carried the smell of charcoal and cut grass. Down by the community hall, a row of folding tables gleamed with tin trays, BBQ smoke curling into the flag's reflection. A low hum of conversation drifted over the lawn neighbors who hadn't spoken in years, now standing side by side waiting. At the center stood the plaque veiled under a white sheet. The flag snapped in the wind above it, steady as breath. Pam nudged my shoulder. "You ever think we'd end up here?" "I used to think it'd just end in paperwork," I said. "It did," she smiled. "But the good kind." The clerk adjusted the microphone at the podium. "Today marks the completion of the audit and the transition of authority," she said. "This community is officially self-governed, transparent, recorded, and public." She lifted a folder. Transfer order filed and executed. The red seal caught the light. A hush spread across the crowd, that 3-second silent beat right before applause finds its courage. Then it came measured, grateful. Behind her, Eldon Pike stepped forward carrying a small wooden box. "These belong here," he said. Inside lay the Keysgate office and storage resting on velvet. He set them next to the microphone. "They open more than doors now." Pam leaned toward me. "You gonna say something I already did?" I said. "Last time." "Say it again," she whispered. People remember echoes better than origins. I walked up. My shoes made no sound on the polished floor. The mic hummed faintly same tone as the night of the hearing. "I'm not a lawyer." I began, just a man who kept receipts. This isn't about fines or fences. It's about fairness that doesn't expire. The clerk handed me a copy of the transfer order, still warm from the printer. The ink bled faintly along the edge like memory. I held it up. "This," I said, "is what community looks like when it stops shouting long enough to listen." Pam's eyes shimmered. Pike folded his arms, smiling like a teacher who'd seen a student finally finish the sentence right. The clerk nodded for me to continue. I placed the order beside the plaque. He didn't want revenge. I said again, just records that outlive noise. Someone clapped once. Then others followed. Silent beat, 3 seconds that felt like peace stretching its back. When the applause settled, the clerk turned to Pike. "Would you do the honor?" He tugged the sheet free. The bronze plaque gleamed in sunlight, edges brushed clean. Across the top, etched deep Community Charter Audit completed and certified. Beneath a second line, smaller but sharper. Finally, someone fought back. Minnie Cliff. Viral. Quote, "The crowd broke into applause again, louder this time. Some laughed, some cried. For once it didn't sound like victory, it sounded like relief." Pam reached for my hand. "You're trending already," she whispered. "Good," I said. "Let the noise serve something honest for a change." The clerk signed the visitor ledger, her pen scratching steady lines. Pike unfolded a small plaque photo, freshly printed time-stamped, and slipped it into my palm. "For your records," he said. "Proof that stories end better when written down." I stared at the picture. The plaque's reflection caught the flagpole, the BBQ smoke and faces framed by morning light. All the artifacts of a town that had learned to breathe again. The crowd began to scatter, folding chairs, squealing softly. Someone shouted speech, but I just lifted the photo. "The record speaks fine," I said. Pam chuckled. "You'll never get used to quiet, will you?" "Maybe not," I said, "but I'll respect it." As the clerk packed her folders, the rope at the flagpole struck metal tap, tap, tap. Pike glanced up. "Even the pole knows rhythm," he said. "Same rhythm as the stamp," I replied. "Different kind of thunder." We stood by the tool bench near the lot. Its metal top gleamed, wiped clean, no more clutter from half-done projects. "Guess you finally finished the job," Pam said. "Not finished," I told her. "Filed." The flag snapped again as the wind shifted, carrying the scent of hickory and ink. Pike patted my shoulder. "Keep the copies safe. History's fragile." "Not anymore," I said. We backed it up. He laughed, deep and satisfied. "Good answer." The clerk closed the record box and locked it. The latch clicked a soft punctuation to months of noise. The crowd gathered one last time for a photo. The plaque shone behind us, sunlight reflecting its engraving like a living thing. Someone counted down. 3, 2, 1. The camera shutter clicked. Then came the hammer tap, one last adjustment to the mounting bracket echoing through the still air. Cliffhanger. The sound lingered. The plaque seal glowed under the sun, a symbol carved from patience law and a little defiance. Pam whispered, "We did it." I nodded. "No, we documented it." The flag waved once more, steady and proud. The tape on the podium fluttered, and for the first time since all this began, the air felt equal, earned. Fade out. The morning light hit the bronze plaque, the engraved seal still warm from yesterday's ceremony. The flag snapped once steady over a crowd that had stopped arguing and started listening. I ran my hand across the surface, smooth, metal, honest weight, and remembered why we fought, not for punishment, but for proof. Records outlast noise. Fairness, once written, doesn't fade. Finally, someone fought back. Share your HOA story below your map might help someone redraw theirs.